security, but that'll take me too far aside. The consumers always want capability. If I'm a decision maker, and I could bring lots of, if I can sidestep politics, we have a lot of folks about your age in the Middle East right now doing a very hard job. They have an insatiable desire for information. Hopefully it isn't too much of a stretch for you to understand why they need something. What they need, what they think they need when they leave isn't what they find they need when they get over there. So folks are constantly building ways to get them information. The balance, if you will, is tipped towards let's equip them. Let's get them the information, let's worry about securing it later. And my concern on a lot of these long-term tasks is that we can't keep this properly in balance, which is, I'll try to keep as a theme. If I'm a CIO of a firm, what I'm most concerned with is not only making money, but improving my market share. I want to make more money than my competitor. Because if I'm really good, I'll drive them out of business, and that'll make it easier to do my job. Normally, the Chief Information Security Officer raising their hand saying, well, no, but we're going to have to pay to secure that. That's not a popular comment. So can you see that the security is often viewed as the bad guy or gal in this decision-making process? Again, we don't build something. We aren't running a business just to secure the information. eBay has to make money. If it doesn't make money, it goes out of business, and it's awful secure then, isn't it? Right? Well, we've got to find the proper trade-off. Do we have a risk management? That's got to be one of the topics we explore. Again, that's part of the risk management. A course, or at least a topic within the courses. Yeah. I mean, hopefully that's not a new term, risk management. Right, I have to manage it. I can't just say avoid it. I can't say, well, I won't connect to the internet, that way it'll be secure. There are a few cases where that might be true, but that's probably not the standard one. Broad exposure, what I'm trying to get to is everything's connected to the internet. I don't imagine anyone in this room has done it, but if you ever get bored and you're curious, it's amazing what you will find connected out there. And I often say, why would anybody ever put that onto the internet? Right? Probably find that in Facebook as well. Why would anybody ever want to put that out there? But remember, that might be true from your perspective, but from their perspective, there might be a need. Business, it's almost no different. Let's see, what is this? So 6 years ago, someone thought it would be an interesting question to just search for classified documents on the internet. Why? I just wanted to see if there were any out there. There were quite a few out there. And that should be disturbing to someone's concern with security. Why do you think they were out there? Guesses? What did you say? They want to know something? Is that people like to know? Did they just post it to know it? Actually, people were posting it because they were trying to get information to people that they actually thought needed to get the information. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't hackers stealing something and posting something. It was folks that were, I think, had got a little bit of imbalance. Maybe they're a little frustrated by the system that they had. So then the security folks could go through the process of trying to rein in some of that information. This gets into more of a foreign affairs and geopolitical and geostrategic issues. From a national security perspective, not many foreign nations want to take on a Western military, if you will, toe-to-toe, to use the military, because the United States has gotten pretty good at that, right? But there are a lot of other things that we're not good at. And it's, if you're going to go, pick whichever metaphor you want. If you're going to go pick on a bully or a strong person, why stand right in front of them at arm's length and, play to their strength? If you're an adversary, you should always play to their weakness, right? Well, our weaknesses are quite accessible, right? Which again talks to why the government is interested in some of the security aspects that I'm going to bring up later. We're seeing this increasingly, if you watch the news, on a lot of politics, a lot of the terrorist groups that the U.S. and the Western Alliance are struggling with internationally. They're openly using the internet not just as a recruitment area, but as a way to gather information. Because, and by means of cost, I don't have to be a nuclear power to get access to the internet. In fact, maybe I'll use the internet as a way to gain funds so that I can buy the stuff I need. Again, if you're into political science or national security stuff, these are topics of whole dissertations. These are buzzwords, if you will. If you read things like the national economic and military strategies of the United States, lots of things that people in Washington worry about. We're increasingly moving, if I'm Boeing Corporation, Microsoft, or some of our, and the list goes on and on, the way I'm managing my information, collecting my products, communicating with my customers, collaborating with my teammates, is all being built on what's called a service-oriented architecture. How many folks have never heard of service-oriented architecture before? Thank goodness. Okay. Because I didn't really want to get into what that is. That or you're just being shy. The whole concept being, as opposed to defining in advance who my trading partners are and giving them accounts, the traditional way of setting up networks and accounts, this is going to be much more ad hoc and collaborative. And if you look at Western foreign policy, you'll see that that's actually how things work. If you get old enough, you could say, didn't they used to be our enemy and now they're our ally? And then the cynic will say, that's okay, they'll be our enemy again someday anyway, right? It's transaction-based. Countries will plug into our network. If I'm a company, who might be my competition today is my colleague tomorrow. Did you ever follow anybody? Oil and gas? Anyone? No. The cost, it costs so much to put up an oil platform. Those big unwieldy things that tend to sink in storms. No one company, not even an Exxon, can afford to take the risk to set up an oil platform on its own. Because if things go bad, if they can't get the environmental licenses or the well doesn't prove out, the economic loss, the competitive advantage that's lost is so big, it's not worth taking the risk. So they always get their competition to get together and share the risk every single time. So if I'm a British Petroleum, who is part of my network? Who's my competition? My competition today might be in my competition in the United States, might be my teammate on a North Sea drilling platform on the same day. So how do I set up a network? How do I set up, and this is where they're going. So it makes an awful lot of sense from a return on investment, but it raises a lot of security concerns, and my thesis is that we haven't thought this through. Now you'll have to forgive me, the next 3 slides actually stopped and thought this past weekend, and I closed my eyes and I kind of saw something similar to this, and permit me to do a little bit of an age perspective. I thought about asking to try to find the youngest person in the room, because I would guess that the youngest person in the room has not even lived in what I would call the paper era. And again, I'm in denial. I don't think I'm old because I'm not 50 yet. And when I get there, I still won't think I'm old. But there was a time not too long ago, and you'd say, well, why is this important? The CEOs of the company, the President of the United States, the people supporting him, all grew up in this era. This is formative. They know this better than Facebook, and they always will. So if you're really looking at a long-term problem, and I talked to Dr. Farron, yeah, he talked about the human element to risk.